What up, my dudes? This is single-handedly the best update I have ever seen for any arcade dirt bike game ever. That should go to tell you a little something about this new update with MX vs. ATV Legends, okay? If you want to go read the patch notes, you can do that. We're just going to be hitting the heavy hitter parts of it in this video. Number one, they are finally starting to get these physics and animations and all those weird little bugs worked out of the game. It just feels like an actual game now. It feels like, I don't even know how to explain it. Again, it's still not perfect, but it's about like if you would have said Legends was like a 5 out of 10 when it first came out, well, this update makes it like a 7 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? That's a roundabout where I would put it right there. And by the way, boys, just letting you know, if you didn't catch my video from yesterday, it was a doozy. Got in there and talked about the whole Vince Freeze, Justin Brayton, paying somebody to take him out, all that crazy ass drama. So if you haven't already seen that video, be sure and go check it out. But anyways, another big thing with this update, they have added the ability to choose your terrain deformation level. Yes, you heard me right. I know some of this shit seems so like, what? Like, can't believe they would ever do that. But yeah, it's true. You can go in there and select between, I think it's like 4 or 5 different Erode terrain deformation settings. So you can just go on any track in the game and just turn the terrain deformation completely off. If you just don't want any of that, you can have it just a little bit. You can have like strong deformation. So that's a game changer right there. They've done something where there's like, I think it's like 16 people in a multiplayer lobby or something like that. They've done something with the multiplayer. Trying to kind of remember off the top of my head some of these things with this update, but just in general, like this to me, this update right here, I know they've made some decent changes with the last 2 updates, but this one right here, this one really feels like, okay, this is what Legends was intended to be when it very first came out. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just keep it real, bro. Let's keep it Spency Boy real, bro. When Legends first came out, it was so bug-ridden. I mean, it was just crazy. Like, it was crazy, bro. And I guess I didn't fully realize that until I've kind of seen how the game plays now. It's just so much smoother. They went in there and changed some stuff with the whips, like the whip animation. It feels a little bit more natural in combination with the bike feeling more grounded. You know, there's like all these things going on here. It's a big enough of a change to the physics system to where I don't think the tuning you were using in the game before is going to work the same way that it is now. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is going to change everything about the kind of tuning you're going to run in the game. It's a pretty big deal, bros. It's a pretty big deal. So, this is that update where I'm like, if you haven't played Legends at all, or if you haven't played it since when it first came out, do yourself a service and go back in here and play this game again, because it really is a totally different game. Yes, the ground physics can still kind of have that like, not slide, it's not really slidey anymore, but it does have what I like to call kind of like a skatey feeling sometimes, where the bike will just, you'll kind of hop up out of a rut when you wouldn't really think you would. Or I still think there's a little bit of, you know, adjustment they can make with that gravitational pull, and just, I don't know, like how the bike sort of drifts in the corner, you know. I don't know, I would have to actually get in there and dig into it to tell you specifically what it is, but you'll know what I'm saying if you play the game. But it just feels so much more like a game now, dude. It just feels so much more like you would have thought like you would have expected a new dirt bike game from MX versus ATV. You know what I'm saying? And they've done massive changes with all of those Lucas Oil Pro Motocross replica tracks in the game. They've done all kinds of stuff with that. Another major thing with this update, which is fucking massive. I've been talking about it forever, but they're starting to make it to where the different dirt compounds actually feel different from one another. So, like your Redbud dirts is going to feel different than your Southwick sand. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to have a lot more difference. And they put that in the patch notes. They said the sand and the mud feels like way different now than it did before. And I can attest to that just getting in there, playing the game a little bit. So, I mean, MX vs. ATV, they're doing it right now, bro. It's just unfortunate. The only thing I can say about this situation is it's unfortunate that they didn't just delay the game a few months, and then, like if Legends would have came out in this state after this update when it first came out, instead of the state that it came out with when it first came out, you know, where the bikes were sliding all over the place, somebody, you know, put bananas all over the track, you know, I mean, it was just ridiculous. The gearbox bugs or whatever you want to call it, where the bikes wasn't even accelerating properly. The 250 two-strokes were faster than the 450s. That was not just me thinking that, okay? They put that in the patch notes of this update. It's taken them this long to actually make the 450s the actual fastest bike in the game. So I don't know if it's like they've buffed the 450 or they've nerfed the 250 two-stroke, but the point being is it's now like it should be, where the 450 is actually the fastest bike in the game. I know it sounds crazy that, you know, we've been going this long on Legends, and technically the 250 two-stroke was actually the better bike, and I've been trying to say it in a bunch of videos, like, bro, something about this 252 smoker, bro. It's because it was so much more nimble. You could maneuver it better, and it made up for every little bit of less power that it might would have had versus the 450. But now that's all changed. Now it's the 450 is the clear-cut fastest bike in the game. But what I was saying there, though, is the only unfortunate thing about all this, you know, it taking MX vs. ATV this long to do this stuff. Listen, I'm glad to see it. It's going to save this game. But the problem is, you know, MX vs. ATV is going to have to learn that hard lesson of when you come out with a new game, you know, you're only going to get that first impression chance one time for a lot of people. For a lot of people, they're going to go in there and play the game when it first comes out, and it don't really matter what else you plan to do down in the future, what kind of updates you plan to do, they're already gone. You probably already lost 75% of your potential player base, regardless if this update's really good or you keep updating the game for the next 5 years. You've already lost that certain group of people that got that weird first impression of the game and thought it was shitty. It's going to be hard to bring those people back, you know? It's going to be really tough. So that's the only, you know, what a shame kind of thing with this update here. I really wish MX vs. ATV would have just pushed the game's release back a little bit and at least get all those bugs worked out, like the acceleration bugs and the gearbox bugs and all that bullshit. I'm telling you, the game just feels so much smoother. Like the physics still aren't perfect. It still ain't no reflex. It still ain't nothing like that. You know, don't get it twisted, but it is night and day different from when the game first came out. It is night and day, bro. Even the roughness feels different now when you're riding on it. I don't know. Everything feels a little bit different. I think they've added a little bit of almost like if you remember on the first Supercross game, it had that real film grainy sort of effect on the screen. I did notice that. So they're doing stuff with everything, man. Like graphically, physics, terrain deformation settings, multiplayer. They're really doing something to every aspect of the game. That's what it feels like to me now. That's what this update really feels like. Like they're doing something to everything. So it really does feel like a different game now. The last two updates they did, I mean, it was like, make it a little bit better, but there's something about it now. And you guys remember me talking about when they first released the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross replica tracks. I was like, I just wasn't really feeling the vibe on those. I was like, damn, it just felt like they could have done so much better. And I didn't really think they were going to actually update them, but man, it really seems like they've went in there and started changing. They have a Fox Raceway 2. They've went in there and changed the layouts of a bunch of the different Lucas Oil Pro Motocross tracks. I think they've added bigger berms, roughness. They've done all kinds of shit here. So, like I say, if you ain't played this game in a minute, this is that update where you want to come back and at least try it for sure. Again, like I say, I still think it's got some weird shit like where the bike will try to just step out on you, It doesn't exactly have as much of that natural motion in the corner. It does if you're not really hitting roughness. It does if you're not really hitting ruts. The bike will just kind of turn naturally. But if you are hitting roughness or ruts or anything like that, that's where it starts to get that kind of goofy feeling in the corners. But it feels so good. I mean, it's starting to feel really good over, scrubbing over the jump faces. That shit feels super smooth now. It's no reflex. Again, no reflex, but they're starting to get that smoother whip feeling, that little bit more realistic whip animation. Just the rider himself. I like the little animation changes they've made. It feels a little more natural, like the rider will set himself up in the corner in a certain kind of way. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, you can tell the whole animation mixed with the physics changes really does give it a different sort of feel, which is a really big deal. A Spency Boy Rap Boy out here. So, man, I don't know what else to say, but this is pretty kick-ass. I wasn't expecting all this from MX vs. ATV. It is a real dang it that this game doesn't have track editor, custom gear, all that kind of stuff, because that's all I can think about. When I think about Legends and the future of it, next 5 to 10 years, I'm like, shit, they're starting to make the game better. They're starting to do all these different things with the game, but then that's only going to do so much whenever you don't have a track editor and you're limited on the track content, and you don't have a gear editor, bike editor. I know that bike skin editor. I know that they had where you could ask for different kind of gear that you want to be in the game on their Discord. I know they just made an Instagram post on that. Of course, Space Boy, I commented on that. I just said Galaxy. I want some Galaxy gear in this game. So, but anyways, they're taking community feedback. They're doing all that good stuff. It's just one of those things. It's wish we could have had all this when the game first came out. That would have been pretty rad, but I guess better late than never. But the deal about that, though, is it's not hurting. The only people that's hurting is MX vs. ATV. You know what I mean? The fact that this is all these big changes and big bug fixes and all that stuff, the fact that that's coming this many months after launch, it's only going to hurt their ability to retain players and get people to come back to the game and stuff like that, right? So, I don't know. Maybe they'll get a wild hair up their ass and try to put some kind of track editor into the game. I know that wouldn't happen anytime soon, but talking about a game you could actually start to get into again, yeah. And that's what's so unfortunate about it is Legends is starting to get all these little elements and aspects improved that gives it that real potential to potentially be a reflex or whatever. But again, It's never going to be any of those things without a track editor, without a way to get bike skins in the game, all that kind of stuff, right? So that makes these dirt bike games become endless whenever you have a track editor, right? It's just like there ain't no comparison. You know what I'm saying? There just ain't no comparison, bro. But anyways, so Spency Boy back on these videos. We're going to start rocking these things out daily. Been off of this shit for a minute, but boy, I'm excited, dude. This is what I love to do, man. I tell you what, bro. This is what I love to do right here. You can have it when I'm finished.